Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of AMA, it's a pleasure to welcome you all to this evening program with the theme Dare to Lead. The book written by Dr. Anil Khandelwal, the former chairman and managing director, Bank of Baroda. To give a very brief introduction of Dr. Khandelwal, the ex-chairman and managing director of Bank of Baroda, and he can be counted as one of the top transformational leaders of India. Under his dynamic leadership, Bank of Baroda became a prime brand in the banking sector in India. His brand of leadership focuses on human resources, customer-centric processes, technology, and branding. I clearly remember when in the past also Dr. Khandelwal has to address such sessions in AMA. So a very distinct part is that a rare feat that an HRD person becoming a hardcore banker, and not only a banker but then reaching at the top position. He is a successful author of 4 books on human resource development, including one of the first books on HRD in the banking sector. The Economic Times included him in its list of 100 most powerful CEOs in India for 3 successive years. Business Today ranked him among the top 10 marketers in India in 2007. He is the first Indian banker to receive the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award from the Asian Banker Singapore. He is currently the chairman of the Center for Microfinance Jaipur, and he lives in Mumbai, India. And before we begin, I will welcome both these gentlemen on behalf of all of you with a bouquet of flowers.
So thank you very much. First of all, thanks a lot, Ahmedabad Management Association. Ahmedabad in some ways has been my karm bhumi. I've stayed here for 13 long years. And AMA has given me, for myself, a launching pad. I still remember in 80s, I thought that we bankers are good enough only for banking. But AMA took the risk and the courage to organize program from industries and called me, and from there I didn't look back. It gave me the confidence and it really heightened my spirits. In fact, AMA's brand equity I gazed several times, but today when I was coming in the car, I asked the driver, have you seen AMA? We have to go to AMA. And then I said that, let me tell him full name, Ahmedabad Management Association. He told me, Saab, AMA to naak hai Gujarat ki. I was surprised. AMA is pride of Gujarat. I have seen the AMA in one single room in Bhadra in Bank of India building. From there on to its journey, how has this transformation taken place? Transformation is all about when you visibly see changes, when you see that things can happen in our country where most people think then nothing can happen because there is so much wretchedness around. I am very happy that some of my colleagues from Bank of Baroda are here who have driven this transformation. I especially acknowledge one gentleman who was with me in my initial years in 1971-72, Mr. Tushar Mankad. He is here. He has sent me a young officer struggling, In fact, I was a material, and if I can disclose today that I was not, during my probation, recommended for confirmation because of my rebellious behavior. I was questioning everything. And then on to my journey to become chairman of that bank through staff college, 13 years. Now, before I begin that, this book that we are talking about, the very inspiration for this book came from someone who is sitting here. Dr. Dujendra Tripathi. May I request Tripathi Saab he is the gentleman who has written History of Bank of Baroda, 100 years history, and it is a classic that he has written. So when he was leaving Bank of Baroda, he told me, Dr. Khandelwal, you have a story worth telling of your tenure. You write it, I will help you. That is the bait he threw on me. I accepted that. And believe me, even at the age of 80, he was always willing to help me. I came here several times, he spent days, and his associate Jyoti, who is here, who has seen many shabby drafts of my manuscript. In fact, I thought whether it is worth printing, but the confidence Dr. Tripathi gave me, he said finally, Dr. Khandelwal, take it from me, it's going to be bestseller. I'm very happy that the book has not looked back. I wanted to acknowledge also Mr. K.K. Verma, who has been a comrade in arm in HRD. We have been shrugging shoulders since early 70s. And I still remember a day he was head of Management Services Department. I was a young officer in Jaipur. I took one of the articles written. I said, could you see whether it is worth printing? I think we have carried on since then the journey. It's very, very nostalgic for me to recollect these moments that many people have contributed to this transformation journey. Many people who are sitting here, my old colleagues, that they have really been there all the time. Now, this book is all about my personal story as well as the Bank of Baroda story. I can tell you before I begin that at least I didn't have an idea. Many of us, when we begin as young officers, don't have an idea. What is leadership all about? Because we are introduced that somebody is managing director, he's a leader, somebody is general manager, he's a leader. The fact I discovered in my career was that leadership has nothing to do with the hierarchy. It is hierarchy neutral. Sometime I discovered a man 3 levels below me is a leader because he has such qualities. So this is a myth that leadership rests only at the top. And this brings me to the point, there's a huge amount of leadership potential in the middle, in the ground, and I think my story also focuses as to how organizations, through human resource development efforts, must bring out these people. I am basically a Bank of Baroda man with minor flirtations, 4 years, a private bank, and 1 year in Dena Bank, but essentially a Bank of Baroda man. That was my advantage. In 2004, year 2000, Bank of Baroda was number 1 after the State Bank of India. It was number 1. And in 2004, it came to number 4 position. Just imagine 4 years, the bank collapses to number 4 position. And the analysts were writing, this is a Sarkari bank, and all kinds of stories. But on 9th April 2005, there was a big article in Business Standard about the performance of public sector banks in India. And Tamal Bandyopadhyay, business editor, wrote, what has happened to this great bank? This has become, Bank of Baroda has become a bad apple in the public sector basket. And that shook me. That was the scenario that I took over. We had not started technology, while other banks had started technology by that time. Many people like Vacharajani, S.K. Das, they will recollect where we were. Our credit growth, while the industry's average credit growth was 30%, our credit growth was 2%. We were still earning profit. In fact, we achieved the landmark of 1,000 crore profit from treasury. Can you run the kitchen from casino profits? That was the stage. It was highly risky. We had stopped doing banking, the operational banking. If you do not do credit, what will 2,800 branch managers do? These were the challenges. Customers had written us off. Nothing happens in your bank was the dictum. So really, that was the time. But my advantage was that I knew the bank. I knew that there is nothing wrong with people. People were fed on the diet that everything is wonderful. We are fine. You talk to general managers, say everything is wonderful. You talk to unions, they say bank is doing very well. You tell a staff, they say everything is wonderful. There was a situation which I termed as collective conspiracy for complacency, that everything is wonderful. If everything is wonderful, where is the need for change? Why does it happen? It happens because the top management, normally in the name of motivation, goes and tells people, we are doing very well, everything is wonderful, please continue to perform, when the really It's not good. It happens at home when wife tells every time, you are not appearing good, your health is not good. No, I'm fine. Our typical Indian syndrome is denial. First of all, we must deny. You tell somebody you are looking good. No. आज क्या मैं ही मिला था यार, मजाक कर रहे हो? People say. You say you are looking upset. No, who is telling upset? First reaction is denial. Organizations also follow that denial syndrome, that everything is wonderful. And CEOs like us, we go and we do not share the real health of the organization. There is nothing wrong with the ground level employees. As Peter Drucker has said, the bottleneck is always at the neck of the bottle, that is at the top. And that was the situation in the bank also. So therefore I decided, first step was reaching out to employees and telling them that everything is not well. What I called my blunt dialogue with employees. Since Bank of Baroda is always charmed by the great Maharaja because he established the bank, I am also in love with Maharaja all the time. And I shared with employees that these are the problems with the bank, that in 4 years it has come here. We are on a fizzle knee. We are here. And a slight push can crash the bank. And in the last I will show them a transparency that showed the portrait of Maharaja, and then I will write on that. Bank of Baroda born 1908, demise 2012. People got so shaken, they will stand up and say, नहीं साहब कैसी बात कर रहे हैं, ये बैंक का तो हम ये है, हम बताइए क्या कर रहे का है. The first step in transformation is disturbing the comfort zone of people. First, as Indians, we don't want to disturb anyone. We have something in heart, we talk something else. This is a cultural problem. When we are unhappy, we say we are very happy. When I am unhappy to meet someone, we say I am very happy to meet you. When somebody says you have some problem with me, we say no, there is no problem. Who told you I have a problem? This is a cultural problem, that we do not share what we want to share. So therefore, in transformation, you have to disturb a comfort zone. And trust me, when you talk through authentic dialogue to employees, they join them. They never knew. They say, we never knew. And we would definitely like to do whatever we want to do. Rest is a history. You have seen the people, banks are not known for in good old days, very committed employees, indifference, overtime oriented and all that. Our employees were midnight while implementing technology, not demanding a penny more. Because building the bank, reconstruction, cannot be only the agenda of the top. Howsoever brilliant the top may be, unless we engage employees, nothing gets happened. So therefore, our transformation story has been a story of much maligned 38,000 employees who rose to the occasion and created India's best bank. That is one. The second is that, in my case especially, I had 850 working days. If you have 850 days and if problems are too many, the temptation is to give up. And I can assure you, in public sector, if you don't do anything, there is no punishment. If you do something, you are never sure when your door will be knocked by investigative agencies. Sometime even today, after 3.5 years, at odd hour, if somebody knocks my door, I get worried. That's public sector. That there are no rewards for performance, and there are all the accountability for performance. And yet, when you decide to undertake transformation, it's something that some passion inside you, some calling inside you, triggers that process of transformation. So important thing is passion. Somebody asked me in annual general meeting of the bank that you people are paid so less while HDFC, ICICI Bank is paid so high. So what is the I said, look, gentlemen, we work for passion. Please do not put our passion onto auction. We work for higher order purpose. Nobody in public sector works for money. They know they can't get. They work for a higher order purpose. So in transformation, unless we have a higher order purpose, and somewhere we were nearing our centenary year celebration, 100 years, and I always thought, that look at the Maharaja. 100 years back, this man created a bank in a small town, Baroda, which has survived 100 years. How many people have contributed? I don't want Maharaja to lament the fact that in 2005 and 8, bank was run by rogues and scoundrels, that they brought down the brand. I don't know where from that thought came. All the time I was thinking that we have to create a bank for the next century. And therefore, it is a personal calling of a leader when anybody decides to change the reality. And anybody wants to change the comfort zone. I can tell you, leadership is not a romantic business. It's a dangerous business. It's dangerous because when you change the status quo, there is uprise of people against you. Even I remember, if you read my book, I tried to introduce a small thing called personnel audit in the bank. And I faced from the unions a daily circular against me as executive director. Some people are smiling because they were there at that time. And the kind of allegations that they were making and the kind of humiliation. You are number 2 of the bank. Circulars are being distributed against you in your own office. And number 1 is keeping quiet. But I think the most important thing for leadership is leaders are born in adversity. So the crucible of leadership, pain and humiliation can be biggest trigger for motivation. From adversity, leaders are born. And I experienced at that time. I felt very helpless. Imagine bank's executive director giving a 5-page written representation for support to his chairman. And he keeping quiet. Yet we came out that. I am happy today when many managers meet me and they say, Saab, baki sab to theek hai. We have got our freedom back in managing. So, I want to share something that leadership is not a romantic thing. Leadership is a dangerous thing. You should be very clear when you start practicing or exercising leadership. Any change, anywhere, activists, social activists, others, those who bring about change in the society, they have to risk their personal comfort, they have to risk their personal prestige, they have to risk many things, even career. And therefore I say that, and those of us who are able to walk that are able to change the society, change corporations, nations, and those who are not able to take that decisive step of exercising leadership, they remain burden on the history because they remain on top position and still they are not able to contribute. So that's it. I like to share a few things that some of the leadership lessons that I learned, and my chapter 30 says code of leadership. And some code I will like to share with you, some I have shared with you, some I like to share with you. My first code is, be your own man. Don't be a packaged product. What people expect from you. What people expect from us is Mr. Nice Man. Miss Nice, Mr. Nice. Live, let live. Don't be a packaged product. Be your own person. That is my first leadership lesson. I don't think we are in a popularity poll. वो आदमी बहुत अच्छा था. So we have a lot of good people, Mr. Nice, but invariably ineffective. Somewhere I was reading recently, a good leader is one who is disliked when he is there and who is remembered when he has left. So, please do not go for popularity contest. That is number 1. The second, people ask me, what are leadership qualities? There are hundreds. You see the book. Textbook writers, academicians, they will say 10, 20, 25. If you ask me, only 2. Credibility and courage. Your personal credibility. If you are not a credible leader, and what is credibility? What you are talking and what you are doing. The country, nation, everywhere, organizations have only this crisis. Every time employees are discussing, look, this gentleman is talking this, but he does like this. He's talking of cost saving, but see how he's enjoying his life. People talk that, look, this man belongs to X place. How come every Friday he lands in that place and he returns on Monday? Sister's marriage, sister's brother-in-law's marriage and whatnot, all kinds of things. I think personal credibility is the key thing. When I was in staff college, I used to tell people, bhai, our personal credibility cost those days 5,000 rupees. By inflation, it has become 25,000 rupees. Please open a recurring deposit account. But for God's sake, do not spoil your personal credibility. Second is courage. The first thing is courage to disagree with your superiors. Courage to disagree with authority figures. Courage to challenge status quo. And therefore the name of my book is Dare to Lead. Leading is daring. And three other things. One is, you may have credibility, very honest, but if you are not decisive, decisiveness and personal discipline. I will share with you a story which I have given in the book. I went to Manila, Asian Institute of Management, and its chairman, one Washington Sisip, his name, 5-foot man. I sought an appointment with him. He gave me 8 a.m. in the morning. And his secretary told me that Washington Sisip is returning from New York after a 15-hour non-stop flight at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was very doubtful whether he can make it. Some gapla is there in appointment. I was not sure. The man is returning 2 a.m. in the night. And I don't know, he's 85-year-old man. I go to his office at 8 a.m. near his gate. He is standing like this. And he ushers me inside his room. That is the kind of discipline. Amazing. Nerve-wracking discipline, personal discipline. If we are disciplined, we multiply time. Most people say, I have no time. Believe me, even as chairman, I felt I have plenty of time. It is the busiest man who has all the time. And you can always create, by proper time management, a magical 25th hour. Always. Personal discipline is the key. But let me also tell you, during the process of living in the bank, we work with several bosses, and with different bosses we learn different things, I tell you. My first boss, A. Raval, you remember? There was a big agitation going on in the branch. That day we told, sir, please go by back gate today. People outside with lathis are standing, unions. Mr. Mankat was with us. He said, I have come from the front gate and I will go only by that. I learned my first lesson in leadership at the age of 23, that leaders have to be courageous. Such a small thing, had he gone by back gate, people would have thought he's coward. From another boss I learned that leaders have to be visible, accessible and hands-on. Mr. Talwar. He came, I worked with him. You go to other top management, you tell them a problem, they will say, I will look into it. Leave it here. Or they will call secretary, please note down. If the problem is important, Mr. Talwar will pick up phone and talk. He will always give a deadline. Please talk to me at 6 p.m. today on this. If the banks, there is a recovery problem, he will tell secretary, please connect me to 50 regional managers today. And he will talk to everyone. He will break hierarchies. He was no feudal lord who worked through secretaries or through general manager or DGM. Where things are important, he will. And visible. Accessibility, visibility and hands-on. Talwar, hands-on. Accessibility, go around, meet people. I set for myself a target that out of 40,000 employees, I must be able to shake hands in 3 years with 10,000 employees. And trust me, by a rough calculation, I shook hands with about 12,000 employees. Because my brother who worked in a public sector bank told me, in my 40 years career, I never saw the face of chairman. That was very pithy comment. That, are we human organization? What kind of organization we are? Friends, this is credibility. I learned. I am taking names. Mr. L.B. Bhede. Rami, you remember, you are a secretary. Epitome of integrity, I tell you. That nobody can imagine. I still remember we had gone to Nainital, Bank of Nainital, we did a training program. This is our subsidiary, Nainital Bank. Imagine, they gave us a gift. And Mr. Bede said, Khandelwal, go and check what is the cost of this gift. I said, this is our own subsidiary, sir. We are not taking from customer. Kehta, no, there is a rule and regulation. We can't take gift of more than 75 rupees. I said, sir, but they are our own bank is giving us. He said, if you don't go, I will go. That was the level of integrity. Later on, I met somebody in life. He was charge sheeted for, taking costly gift. He told me, sir, where it is written in regulation that it is 75 rupees per day, per minute, per second. This is another interpretation. So, you see what can happen in our actual life. In leadership code, I have given another thing, tough love. Tough on performance, love your employees. We do the reverse thing. Tough people invariably become arrogant. Angry, arrogant, anti-employees. Tough people in the name of toughness. I was today so touched. I am staying in a staff college. Some of the people I gave show cause notice, charge sheeted them. They came with flowers to give me. I was wondering, I was telling my wife, why have they come? But that was a transaction. That somebody did wrong thing was a transaction. But your heart, your compassion for people. I think it's a tough call. Jim Collins, who has written the famous book, Good to Great, he says that level 5 great leaders are those who combine humility plus toughness. So therefore, we need to train ourselves as leaders that we are tough when it comes to that, but we are also humble. That unconsciously we don't become arrogant. And that tough love also. And there are many, 18, I am not going to, Mr. Verma warned me that today is Karwa Chauth, don't engage too much. I would not like to, but I would only like to say a few points that in this journey, lot many opportunities came. I think my toughest ever posting was to Calcutta. 3 years. And the chapter's name is Walking on Fire. And again, if you have credibility, you win. Calcutta is a place, those days, where we had on simple job rotation in 1985, on a job rotation from SM Road to IIM branch or to across the road, 57 days India's biggest strike. You can imagine what was Calcutta. That was the challenge. And I discovered in Calcutta also that Calcutta was treated as an amputed leg in the corporate body by management. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy that if you say this man is bad, 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 they seek attention by proving bad. In Calcutta, those of you who read this book, please read this chapter. It was the Achilles heel of my career. And trust me, with engagement of people, we could transfer 800 people on a single day from one branch to another. It took me 6 months of discussions, negotiations, and the confidence building measures. So there is nothing impossible in leadership. Impossibles are only convincing ourselves of exercising our leadership. It's a negotiation with our comforting self. It's a new order for the self. And I always believe that before we transform the organization, I think the key point is transforming the self, anchoring the self, the quest between becoming and being. We want to become somebody or we are what we are. The congruence in congruence, the saying doing difference, the learning ability, the curiosity. I think when we occupy a higher position, we dip ourselves into the muddy waters of darkness, ignorance, because we feel we have arrived as managing directors. We need not learn. Only sermonization can really anchor our boat. Sermonization from whatever position is not the craft of leaders. Learning is the craft of leadership. Working together is the craft of leadership. Rowing together is the craft of leadership. And that's the message in this book that has come through several chapters. I still remember today everyone says rebranding has taken place. I would like to share a small anecdote that when we decided to rebrand the bank, I almost lost my job. The government told me, who authorized you to change the logo? Because some interested party complained, our logo color is saffron. Yeah. So some people complained, I have RSS and BJP antecedents. 5 MPs and 1 cabinet minister signed a petition to Sonia Gandhi that this man, because unions were after my blood for many changes that we were undertaking. And I decided, if government is not with you, where do you go? Yet I found a way, challenging the government and telling them, okay, I will withdraw the logo. You withdraw this color from the national flag. It is a color of our flag. And that settled the issue. So in exercising leadership, you are very near to losing your identity, your job, sometimes get crucified. But when you become a leader and on the top, if my friend, a former DGP police Bansal, decides not to take on terrorists just because he can be in trouble, the people will lose faith. Why are you on the top? So the question is, why leaders are on the top, if not for transformation and change? And those leaders who manage to get away from the top without transformation and change, in some ways, they are saboteurs of organization. That's a very, very big charge. But I think that is the leadership role that at the top people are expected to play. And if they don't, in some ways, they are no better than the clerks. There is always a mandate for the top. The mandate is taking the organization forward, taking the organization into sometimes an uncharted sea of competition and see that it survives. That's the leadership role. So therefore, and I can tell you, in the banking, one of my greatest advantages was, and I proudly say, that I was not a career banker. It helped me to see things differently, think differently. Because I saw my banking friends, with due apologies, everyone doing more of the same thing. I found early in the career, when auditors come into the bank is virtually in ICU for 1 month. Everyone from top to bottom are with auditors, looking at accounts, balance sheet. What's so great? In some way, my ignorance was my savior. And I acknowledge my ignorance. Because I had too many talented bankers. I had Vachrajanis and I had our friend Das, I had dozens of these people doing banking. I allowed them to do banking, expand their role, and they delivered the banking because with all these things, imagine in 850 working days, what bank did in 97 years, we did in 3 years. Our business grew by 107%. Credit grew by 138%. Our international operation trebled 3 times. We created an Asian record of opening 11 foreign offices in a single year. We came out with So many customer-centric innovations, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Gen Next branch, 24-hour banking, retail loan factories, SME loan factories, which have become industry benchmark today. Today, Bank of Baroda story has traveled overseas. Harvard Business Review, March 2010, has spent 2 full paragraphs on Bank of Baroda's story. Peter Capelli, Wharton faculty, they wrote a book, The India Way. Bank of Baroda has 2 full pages on that. And today, the brand equity of Bank of Baroda has gone so much. The reason is the people, they created a new brand for the bank. And therefore, I would sum up by saying that transformation is nothing but engaging people, trusting people, and showing them what they have not seen, extending and expanding their vision, and creating belief in them that they can. And it has exponential nature in the sense that once you achieve, you get more confidence and you create more. So that's the story of Bank of Baroda. I'm very happy that we, all the management team and my 38,000 comrades in arms, they could do. Today when they go and somebody shakes hand, I'm from Bank of Baroda, they don't say a bad apple in the public sector basket. They say, oh wow, you're from Bank of Baroda. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Friends, thank you so much. Before we leave, I will like to request Mr. Pandit to present a memento on behalf of AMA and all of you to Dr. Khandelwal.
Thank you, Mr. Pandit.